I'll tell you what, it's going to be absolutely nervous watching if you're an RCB fan in this one, because we're going to be previewing on CDC Game Show today, RCB versus GT. Do the Reds have a glimmer of hope? Well, I certainly think so, but it doesn't matter what I think because we have two stunning experts in the house. Don't go anywhere. You want to watch. Yes, two is always better than one. We have, of course, Nannes Knight and Dirk Nannes. I mean, there's some Ashes tense rivalry in the air here brewing, and it's funny because they were just speaking about the time zones that right now they're shooting from. First and foremost, we'll go to England before we go to Australia. Nick, how are we?
Very good, thank you. Always a pleasure to be on the show, and the sun is shining. It's beautiful here in the UK.
Okay, Nannes, I mean, in terms of all the weather talk that you guys were having, how's it going for you, Dirk?
The moon is shining, the weather is cold.
It's a stark contrast, and that's a good way to get the show off to a start, I guess, because there's going to be plenty of agreements and disagreements. I hope it's the latter, and that takes me nicely to the first round, which is called How's That? Right, in this round, pretty much we ask a burning question. That's exactly how the producer has described it, a burning question to one of the experts, and they'll have to give it a go. And the first one will be for Nick, and I'm going to ask you an RCB-specific one. It's about Virat Kohli. Will we see another peak in Virat Kohli's career?
Okay, I'll give you a simple answer, yes. I think we will. I mean, I think his great skills have been, and his incredible achievements have been based around ambition, determination, obviously huge amounts of ability and drive as well. And if he's still got that, and that's why I'm saying yes, because I assume he's still got those qualities and he still wants to push on, then absolutely. You get to a stage in your career when you've achieved a tremendous amount, and if you've been around doing that for a long time, there will be a time where that just drops off mentally. And I don't think he's there yet. I really don't think he's there yet. I think he has a burning ambition to get better and better. He shows great emotion on the pitch, and I think there's a lot going on inside at the moment. He's obviously hurting a little bit because he's not playing as he'd like. But I think absolutely simple answer to your question is yes, we will see the best of Virat Kohli down the line.
Music to the ears of many, including me. Let's see what we have for Dirk in this round, and it is Gujarat Titans related. Now, we want to know what makes them the best bowling attack in this year's competition. Is there versatility involved, or is it more to do with experience, sir?
I think it's more their versatility. You look down at how shared their bowling efforts have been across the entire tournament. And I think you look at the Man of the Match awards that they've had, they've shared everything throughout the entire tournament rather than relying on one or two stars. And I think that's been across their bowling effort as well. Of course, you get Rashid Khan and Mohammad Shami taking a lot of wickets, but they've been able to change their international bowlers. They've been able to chop and change through injury throughout. And everyone is fulfilling a role. And I think that's the important thing with good teams that finish at the top of the table, is you're not relying on one or two standout stars. So for me, yes, they're incredibly varied, but I think the real thing has been the way they've been able to share it around and not just rely on one or two of their bowlers to get them over the line in big games.
Yeah, it's always a good sign for any team to share the wickets, let alone the runs amongst them. Let's move on to the round two then, and we're calling this one Just a Minute. In this round, it's basically asking the experts a particular agreement or disagreement and what their thoughts are on a topic, of course. And Nick's going to go first in this one. And his topic is to discuss the pros and cons of Dinesh Karthik going to the World Cup later this year.
Okay, pros. He's been given this role this year, and he's done it brilliantly. And I, having played the game as Dirk has for many years, you appreciate just how tough that role is. I mean, it's all right for some of us at the top of the order to try and go out there and smash early boundaries, and you have your day, and sometimes you don't. But when the game gets tight and you're going at 10s, 11s, pluses, and you've got to win the game for your side, it's mighty tough. I think it's the toughest part of the game as a batter in this format of the game. So he's done it brilliantly. I don't think it's easy to do. And if you've got someone who is doing that on a relatively regular basis, bearing in mind the inconsistencies that will come with it, I think it's a must pick. I'm not saying he's definitely a must pick in the team, but I think he's a must pick in the squad, because I think he'll add that experience as well, touring, traveling, being part of a squad. So absolutely for me, that's another pretty simple one for me to answer. It's a definite yes.
Okay, we'll toughen up the questions the next time. I hope the producer is watching this. Let's move on to Dirk Nannes' question right now. And it is, of course, Hardik Pandya, and where you think he should bat in T20 cricket, because he does a different role for the franchise and the country, of course. Where should he bat?
I really like where he bats for his franchise. I almost think he could bat 3, really. What I like about him in this tournament, early on in the tournament, he came out and struggled in the first 2 or 3 games, I think it was, where he struggled to strike well. At a strike rate, he was always slow, just over 100, and it wasn't good enough. Suddenly, he flicked a switch, and suddenly he became this powerful striker that came out, and rather than be 8 off 12 balls, suddenly he was 20 off 10 balls. And it didn't happen just one game, it happened time and time again. And he has this ability to play different roles at different times. And there is real benefit in T20 cricket of having someone who doesn't just play a good game situation, but can also change games and bat almost their own way in the context of a game. I think it's someone like a Glenn Maxwell, for example, regardless of what the game situation is, comes out and whacks them and doesn't necessarily play the game situation. I think Pandya can play that role. Maybe 3 might be a little high, but I like him at 4. I think it allows the top 3 to go out and play their game, and then you know that Hardik Pandya is coming in and he'll just play however he wants to play. I think there's something that I really enjoy about that. As to whether there's a spot there for him, that remains to be seen. But yeah, for me, that's where I really like him.
Okay, let us know in the comments below, guys, if you agree or disagree with Dirk. I'm sure there'll be lots of disagreements there, or agreements, I don't know, just playing devil's advocate. Let's move on lastly to the final round, which is called the final word. And in this one, it is, of course, just been answering honestly, guys. I know you guys want to sit diplomatically in certain questions, but look, can RCB qualify for the playoffs? And more importantly, this is for Nick, right? Because have they had an overdependence on their bowlers, and have their batters shown the lack of cohesion, do you think?
Yeah, it's been an okay sort of tournament, I'd say, with the bat. I mean, obviously the highlight would be Virat not scoring as many runs as he'd like. Facets sort of contributed at the top. They mixed and matched a bit in the middle, trying to find a combination that might work for them. They've relied heavily in some ways on DK finishing the game for them. I'm going to go with RCB to win this game. And the reason I'm going to go with RCB to win the game, it's a bit against the head because they're playing against the best side. They've won 2 of their last 3 games. I just think with what's on the line for RCB, it's a massive match. It's a huge match. And they've got some big match players. And I'm just going to go on a hunch that some of those big match players are going to find their very best form in the moment where they very much need it as a unit. So you're playing against the side that have already qualified and they're through and they're top. It might be that they just take their foot off the gas a little bit. It might not be. But I've just got a hunch. It's nothing more than a hunch that RCB are going to see themselves to 2 points. Now, of course, then the problem is that 2 points enough? Because Delhi win and their run rate is, of course, a little better at the moment. So there's still sort of imponderables there to debate. But at the moment, they just have to get 2 points, and I think they will.
Okay, let's see if that happens, because every time Nick has had a hunch, it's turned out to be true. So fingers crossed it remains the same, dare I say. Now, Dirk, I mean, in coming to your question in the final word, right? They're taking on Gujarat Titans. Who do you think should perhaps rest a few players just to prevent injuries, manage workload, or that's a ridiculous thought?
I find Nick's answer before me kind of along my thinking, in that often you'll find that teams who finish top do something, they tinker around on the last game of the season to rest, and they get rolled, and they lose a bit of steam going into the finals. I really dislike teams doing that. I think that if you've got a team that's performing well, just keep with them, unless of course they're a niggles. But T20 tournaments, everyone's always carrying a niggle at some stage, but I don't think they're necessarily means or reasons to change sides leading into a final. So I would not like to see it happen. Of course, they're going to get tired. That's the nature of tournament play. But I think you risk more than you gain by leaving players out at this stage of the tournament. And that it probably leans itself a bit more towards RCB doing well. But I'm on the flip side. I don't think RCB will make it through. I don't think they'll get the 2 points, let alone make it through.
Dagger to many hearts, including mine, Dirk. But look, we appreciate your time as well as Nick's, and we'll catch you guys post-match, the Bangalore Gujarat affair, which is going to be a humdinger. It always is. It's part of that franchise's DNA to really give a heartache or two to its fans. Catch it on cricket.com in terms of the analysis and stats. A goodbye from me, Avnish Hegde. We'll see you guys soon.